This is Arts Alive. I'm Linda Philippi. My guest is Wes Cropper. He's a Newburgh artist, and he's here to talk about his work. So welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you could be here today.
Yeah, I'm very glad to be here.
And Wes, this is exciting because I understand that you are a brand new Art Harvest Studio Tour artist.
Yes, we're looking forward to that in October.
That's exciting. Was it a big leap for you, a big step?
Yes, last year we toured about 5 of the studios here in McMinnville, and I just kept thinking I should try this.
Good.
And so I got the name of James Nelson, and I thought, I'm going to call him. So I did, and we started having these conversations, and now I'm here.
One thing led to another.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that, I know it's always exciting for people who've been working with a tour as long as some of us have been affiliated with it. It's always exciting to see the new people as well as the perennial favorites each year. So it's kind of nice, the blend. It feels like it just melds sort of nicely from year to year to year as some people drop out and some people come on, and that's always so much fun. So we'll just let people know, if there's anyone in Yamhill County who doesn't already know, that the Art Harvest Studio Tour is the first 2 weeks of October.
Right.
And there's information on the artharveststudiotour.org website, where they can find also a link to you and your work and your website.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull up some of your images that you brought, and you can kind of talk us through those if you want, and then maybe talk about your background and what you do as well at the same time. Does that work?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Okay. This image is called,
Rhapsody in Blue.
yeah, no, stage right here. This image is called Spans of Compassion.
Oh.
And the idea is that there's this storehouse where these bridges have been made, and for the purpose of going and filling in a spot that needs compassion.
I love it.
And so they're coming off the assembly line and waiting for their assignment, and when they get assigned, they fly off to whoever needs that help.
I love that. That's really amazing. What a great concept.
And then there's another piece in here called Soul Vineyard. I don't know if you can pop that up right away, or if they're going to come in an order.
They will.
Okay.
They'll come in the order they were loaded.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can talk about that more later. Anyway, this piece, I'm going to have trouble remembering the names.
It's so beautiful. I should pop in and say that all these are done digitally.
Yes.
So this isn't a painting or a photograph. It's a digital image.
Right.
It means you draw it on a computer?
I start out in a program called Adobe Illustrator.
Okay.
And I draw all my lines. They call them vector lines because they're based on coordinates of the screen or the workspace. And then I take them into Adobe Photoshop. I extrude them. I create 3D forms out of them and play with them, add textures. And then since I've got a lot of layers, I can add all kinds of backgrounds, more texturing over the top, reflections, atmospheric things. Like this one has kind of a watery surface, but I also wanted to show currents coming and going. And so I kind of lightened up little pathways you can see.
Yeah. I think it's really amazing.
Thank you.
I'm still trying to figure out how to get text on the pictures on the Instagram app.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
It's amazing.
Okay, this piece, now this piece is interesting. I have 2 pieces that actually do borrow the help of a photograph, and this being one of them. And the reason I did 2 of them, I tried photographs in 2 of them, is because somebody told me, oh, I'm gathering artists to do this special presentation with a big company downtown, and we're looking for photographers that could help on this project. And I kind of looked at this person with a blank stare, and she said, well, you're your work is photographic, is it not? I said, no, it's not. Sorry. So I didn't get that opportunity. But then I thought, well, I could put a photograph in there. So
Sure.
this is a photograph. It started out as the mudflats down in Taft, Oregon.
Okay.
And then I changed them around a bit and kind of turned it more into a reflection of the sky, and then added some things that aren't down in Taft, Oregon, as you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's amazing. I mean, it's almost one of those things where you're not really sure what you're looking at in a way. Is it a picture? Is it painted? Is it a photograph? You don't really know.
Right.
What about this one?
And like magicians, we're sworn not to tell.
Of course.
You have to.
Yeah. What's behind the screen? Of
Right.
course.
Right. This one relies even more on the computer to create some nice textures on those rock formations, and then the sky also. One of the things that I added though is way back in the distant, far off. There's more imagery of land and a kind of a peninsula going out, which wasn't there. I put that in after the computer, so. I just wanted a little bit more topography than the computer allowed, so I do rely on my traditional skills.
Do you ever use the one? I think I've seen this someplace. Somebody told me about it, where you can actually take a paintbrush type thing and draw on your computer screen. Have you heard about that one?
Well, I have. Not that specifically, but I have played around a bit with the iPad. I've started offering classes on the iPad. So I'm teaching how to draw with your finger, basically, on an iPad, or paint, or chalk, or whatever you want it to be. But I haven't actually had a piece of hardware that you hold to the screen.
Okay.
Okay, and this one also is one that I did earlier, and then I added in some more topography in the background. You can see, I want to give the suggestion that there is definitely civilization. Maybe these are vents or ducts that are coming up out of the ground for an underground society. Maybe. I'm not going to say anything more, but I did want there to be an indication that civilization either is or had been around. So. Okay. This piece is called, I can't do the French pronunciation, so I'll just say proceder or procédé, and it means to move forward. And the idea, I think it just came from a place of joy in my heart. I can't really explain it, but you're really happy about something, and so you realize, okay, I'm on my mountaintop experience, but I need to move on in life, so I'm going to keep going, and the view's still good on the other side of those pillars or whatever you're going through. This is also the other piece that I used a photographic image in the background. So. I also like creating pieces that are kind of a reflection of technology, or the influence of technology on the environment. And when I first created this, I thought about, well, I don't know, technology always ends up being evil or pollution or that kind of thing. I thought, well, no, these can be air scrubbers, or they can be they can be filters, or they can be getting water from a underground or under ice source, that sort of thing. So we'll leave it at that.
I like your style, though. I like your work. It's interesting and it's thought-provoking.
Well, that's the idea. I want these conversations. I mean, at some level, all these pieces, of course, are autobiographical.
Sure.
But I also want them to mean things to
Of course.
other people. Okay, this is a piece called Soul Vineyard, and it relates back to the first piece that we looked at, because it's got those kind of arch shapes. But in the first piece, the arch shapes were finely decorated with a pattern, And these look almost like they're raw dough out of the oven, so to speak. And so my thought is that as these approach the pillar in the background, or the canopy in the background, that they're going through a maturing process, and then when they get to be the mature spans of compassion, then they get their full
Colors and
colors
yeah,
and the
sure.
armor, yeah,
Oh,
the
that
whole
makes
thing.
sense. I love it.
Yeah.
That's a great concept.
So that's how those two pieces relate.
Okay. There's a close-up version. Okay, I like it.
This piece is called Tribal Meeting, and I don't know what else to say about it. I like the idea that there's a leader, and then there's a grouping, and the grouping is kind of responding to the leader, but there's also this kind of art surface under that they're all relating to as well. So almost like a chessboard, but not quite.
It's really interesting and colorful too.
Thanks. Now this piece technically is different in that I did most of it in the program I mentioned earlier, Adobe Illustrator, and I didn't do as much of it in Photoshop. I wanted to create this sense of closeness yet deep space and depth, and things going on both up front and things going off way in the background, like where it looks like the fish or the tadpoles are swimming. And so that was, you know, on a technical level, that was one of the things I wanted to achieve on this piece.
I really love I guess the way with a digital piece that you can take it in so many directions. You know, there's so many different things you can do with this. Like I could see this, somehow this reminds me of something that you would, you know, if you were doing a class for like a creative writing class, you could put this up, especially maybe this one in particular, maybe especially for kids, and say, okay, tell me the story. And you know, out of 20 kids, you'd get 20 stories. And I think that's
Right.
really interesting. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, some of these pieces that I've given away as gifts, people will say, "Oh, I think it means this." And I say, "Yeah, I think
Sure.
for you that's what it means."
Exactly, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really? Well, those are lovely images, and let's reiterate that you're going to be on the Art Harvest Studio Tour as a new artist, first 2 weeks in October. You're showing in Newburgh, right?
Yes.
You're a Newburgh artist.
Yes.
Okay, and then if people follow the link for the Art Harvest Studio Tour, they can also link to your website,
Yes.
and they can find you on your Etsy account.
Yes.
And many other ways as well.
Yes. Drop by.
I love it. Well, I really want to thank you for being here today. It's been wonderful to talk to you, and can't wait for the tour. Thanks.
Thank you.